Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not to Comic Book. This being a show, it's about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Stargirl. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, there's a whole situation where, okay, so a correction is I was under the impression that Pat's robot was actually his car. It's just, he uses, I guess, similar, parts. Probably it's auto parts, so it looks similar to the car, but it's not the car, which makes sense because the last thing you want is to have to worry about oh, where's the car? Oh, Pat's off using it as a robot. Regardless, that was just something immediately. But it's interesting because I was wondering to be fair, he didn't have it the entire time, so it's oh, this is his actual first trial run. It's actually pretty dope to see it just kind of burst off into the sky. It's a very Iron Giant light and everything, which is when you see that and think about it, it's it breaks your heart when you think about Iron. I haven't seen that movie in years. Regardless, the fact of the matter is, Pat trying to talk, Courtney out of this whole thing because because obviously it's okay, so that was Brainwave, and which once again it's gotta do something about these damn names. The Injustice Society, really? Nevertheless, it's she wants you get because it's oh yeah, Starman was my dad. Was he the one that killed him? It's no, Icicle was. But the fact is, it's for her, it's just the fact is we just happen to coincidentally move back here, and one of the just Injustice Society is here. What's going on, Pat? Well, it turns out that one of the Justice Society of America members, Rex, our man, survived the whole attack, and he kept tabs on all of the Injustice Society, but eventually he ended up getting killed, and he passed everything on to Pat just because Pat was the only other person he could trust with it, which is, I immediately think in my head, I'm oh, that's even sadder because it's well, he's the last member to die, well, technically because Pat's still alive, so he's the second last member, but kind of the full-on member, because obviously Pat kind of got reduced to sidekick, but it's because he died in last, it's interesting because obviously on Legends he died first because Eobard killed him, so it's I just think that's kind of interesting. Obviously different versions of the character, but I thought it was just interesting. I'm kind of worked out like that. Something that's kind of floating in the back of my mind. And obviously Pat wants her to kind of put this all kind of behind her because obviously for him it's he thought oh, I came here before looking for him, never found them, so he thought they moved on or something like that. So if if he knew, he would have never moved their family to Hidden Valley, so no, I say Hidden Valley, the ranch, sorry, Blue Valley, jeez, I'm so sorry. Nevertheless, it's a thing of also having a teacher of superhero 101, keep your secret identity and stuff like that, because we now see that Brainwave has an idea where to go looking because her student ID was destroyed, but I mean, it was enough of it left for him to know, oh, this is an ID that goes to the school that my son goes to, and the fact is all he has to do is narrow it down. So he ends up talking to his son about hey, was it a girl that beat you up? And his son's reluctant and be yeah, maybe. It was dark. I couldn't really 100% tell. Which also sets up a very interesting thing that it seems that could also turn into a very abusive situation of oh, your dad's always in your mind. That's a little cheap and cheating. But the fact of the matter is, it's oh, you can't lie to me. And that also means that his son isn't safe for him, that he's always in his own son's head. I mean, why would you restrain yourself from using your abilities? As you're a bad guy, so you don't hold yourself to the standards of a hero being oh, I'd never use my powers on someone I love type of situation, but what was also interesting, he was look me in the eyes, and he was can you tell me what I'm thinking? He's I hate when you do this, Dad. It's creepy. Fine, I gotta take the bus. You see the look in his face, he's so disappointed because it's oh, my son doesn't have the gift. Because I guess every once in a while he's trying to see if there's any hint of his abilities, because obviously their abilities, especially, I mean, I don't know if his powers would count as metahuman, but typically metahuman abilities are genetic on some level in certain regards. So I'd assuming he's just kind of constantly seeing if his son has it or not. It's oh, I guess he doesn't, but part of me wonders, is he just not a late bloomer? We'll kind of get to that later on, but obviously you have Courtney taking Starman's suit and kind of making moderations to it. I love that she literally destroyed so many different sewing machines and a pair of scissors trying to modify it. I also love that breakfast thing because at first it's Pat went off to try and train with the robot, because obviously if the Injustice Society's here, he's going to protect his family, he's going to protect everyone, because he wants Courtney to have nothing to do with this. And the trial runs with the robot, not too smooth, actually pretty much failing on every front. And him showing up at home. Both him and Courtney hurt. They both using the same excuse. Yeah, I fell down the basement stairs. It's like, you both fell down the basement stairs? Like, yeah. Also love that he's like, his son Mike is saying damn it. He's like, no, language. He's like, what do you want me to say? Dang it, darn it, gee willikers type of situation. And it's like, yeah, that's better. So now it's a situation of like, okay, well, it's also interesting too is like the connectivity. Like the girl she sits at lunch, well, one of the girls she sits at lunch with is her parents, well, at least her mom works with Brainwave, you know. And it's like, oh yeah, here we are on this video call, and then it's just kind of like, oh hey, and like he's literally sitting over there, and like he doesn't turn around to see her, and I almost thought she was going to see him first and then duck out of the video, but it didn't turn into those circumstances. But it's like, oh, there's like a PTA meeting, like parents and teachers type of thing, and he's like, oh, that'd be wonderful, because he's using this as an opportunity to find Courtney. We also get a little bit of a look into Barbara's work. You know, obviously, like, it's like, oh, anyone got any ideas? Literally no one is saying anything. She raises her hand twice. Basically, the dude shuts her down twice. I was like, wow, you don't have to be an asshole about it. He's like, no, that's a terrible idea. She's like, well, this might be a silly idea. He's like, you're right, that is silly. I was like, Jesus. And then the one dude also, it's like, because it was the dude that actually walked over was that girl Courtney sits with at lunch, her dad. And it was like, yeah, he can be kind of rough. Not just rough, just complete another D-bag, because like no one else wants to communicate with him, even throw out any ideas, because I guess they all learned their lesson the hard way of like, yeah, you just keep your mouth shut, let him just kind of do what he wants to, type of thing, you know. What's also interesting, because I skipped over it, was like we saw Brainwave meeting who we later on find out is a senator. He's I guess, well, he's kind of like a wizard, because he has like a magic wand and everything. And always once again, that thing of like, okay, so how much does your family know? Obviously, his son and his wife know nothing about it. But I thought it was interesting, because obviously it's like he's kind of supposed to be the de facto leader, I guess, while Icicle's away or doing whatever he's doing. But then we kind of learn a little bit more about the Injustice Society's plan, that basically it seems like it's almost kind of similar to like the Undertaking. It seems like that's the best way I can kind of compare it, but obviously it's like on a much larger scale. They're calling it like a New America. Now what that necessarily means, God knows, you know. But it's like, it seems like basically they put themselves in very like high profile positions to kind of, I guess, strike things. Because obviously, like I said, one of them's a senator, and because he's Brainwave's kind of, well, he's like a doctor, you know. So it's like, I guess they put themselves in positions where they can kind of strike at maybe the country's like from certain higher positions or something like that. I don't know. I'm curious to kind of find out ultimately what their goal is, because obviously with any evil organization, you're like, ultimate goal's got to be world domination, but specifically how you want to go about it. I mean, it might not even be necessarily world domination. It seemed more like a new America, I guess, like kind of built in their image of like everything that's wrong, they want to try and fix, I guess. I don't know, like by any means necessary type of situation. Again, once again, we've only heard the beginnings of their plan. I'm curious to kind of find out more about what that is and what they really want. Because I'm always interested to understand like why a villain is motivated to do what they're doing, like what their plan is, in the grand scheme of things. I also love Pat going to, Ripped, and he runs into Crusher, and he's just kind of like, oh, he's like, what are you doing? I came to, what you call getting ripped. Excuse me, and get ripped. Don't be ashamed of that word, buddy. And he's just putting him through his paces. He's like, how long have we been doing this? 3 minutes. Just 57 minutes to go. It's like, Jesus. Even later on, it's like, whoa, this cookie and this juice? No, they'll be the death of you. And he's like, this dude is crazy. I love that. But then it's the whole situation of, we also kind of meet other people, like the principal who's, like gushing over her son and embarrassing him a little bit. It's like, oh, he's going to be a musician. And he's so handsome to boot. He's like, Mom, and the girl that Courtney sits with at like her telling her parents like, oh my god, she seems so hyperactive and stuff like that. She seems like such a good kid, because it's just like, oh, like I'm at school, but I want to Skype with my parents. Oh, mom's on the other line. Hey dad, mom's on the other line. Let me put you on together. She wants to showcase like everything at school. So it seems like a good kid. There's also the other girl that Courtney was sitting with, where it's just like the one she was kind of defending last episode, and she was kind of staring at her a little bit, and she's like, "Stop staring at me." It's like, I'm not staring at you. So home dude who was sitting at the table never came back, so I'm interested to kind of see, that kind of loser, quote-unquote loser table, what that ends up becoming, because currently Courtney has literally no friends at this point. I guess that's the closest thing she has to friends is people she sit with at lunch, so that's kind of about it. I thought it was really interesting how, they're both literally looking for each other. Brainwave's looking for Courtney, Courtney's looking for Brainwave, and it's a situation of just I thought she would have been able to avoid him finding, I guess it makes sense, but it's hard having a villain know your identity. It's like, oh, that obviously puts your entire family in danger. I mean, hell, he's even like, oh, bring me the staff. Oh, he's like, obviously it's a terrible thing of just not only is he a telepath, but he can also go beyond just reading your mind. He can actually mess with your head. He was even saying oh, your mom, Barbara, I'll make her have a stroke, but I'll make it super painful, but I'll make it look like she just had a stroke if you don't bring me the staff, And it's just, like I said, it's just oh, holy crap, him finding you, because she thought really loudly, holy shit, brainwave. And then that kind of got him locked on to her. So he previously was looking through all the other girls. So it's you were kind of hoping she would have been able to duck, dive, and kind of weave her way around crossing paths with him. That's what I kind of thought would be neat if that ended up happening. But nope, I think this actually brings it to a more interesting direction, is the fact is that he knows who she is and found her. So for her, she wants to fight him, but obviously Pat is like, no. I love the excuse he made. Barbara, we got to get out of here. It's like, oh yeah, the pigs in a blanket, it just kind of did something to my stomach. Principal, senator, and leaves, and then someone walks up with the pigs in a blanket, and they're like, no, we're good. It's interesting too because Pat didn't realize it. Obviously, Pat actually ended up talking to the wife of one of the Injustice Society. So it's interesting. I mean, it's a small town, but it's just interesting. Because once again, he was under the impression they left. He didn't realize they were still here. And even that dude, the senator, it seems like his whole thing is because it's oh, why didn't tell you? Because what you were going to do is take your family and run. So it seems like whatever this whole thing is, even he's not 100% on board with it. At least because his family comes before the whole, it's that thing of oh, you were a villain, you were all about it, but so much time has passed and now it's well, I got to put my family first. Or maybe it's a thing of being a senator now too. Maybe it's just his responsibilities, and just maybe he changed in that time. Maybe he's not all about the plan that was kind of set forth before, so it makes you wonder about that. But obviously, getting back to what Pat wants to protect, he wants to protect Courtney. He's the fact of the matter is, you're not going into this fight. He's I'm going to be the one to do this. And if something happens to me and I don't come back, you get your mom, you get Mike, and you get out of here, out of this town, and you never look back. It's going to be up to you. I don't know why the staff ended up picking you, but the fact of the matter is, this, it might have been then or maybe later of maybe you are Starman's daughter, but the fact of the matter is, this is kind of his fight, and tell your mom I love you. And I think in that moment, I think her perspective on Pat had changed, because it's just kind of realizing what he was willing to do and sacrifice for their family, and so I think also that plus, the notion of oh, these are the people that killed her dad. She wondered, why her dad never came back, and then now know oh, he died saving the world, so it's I gotta do whatever I can. I'm so curious why Pat is so I guess for him it's just kind of what are the chances I would meet Starman? I guess because Sylvester kind of kept him in a distance in certain regards, so it's if he ended up having a family, I guess keeping his secret identity secret, which is interesting considering the fact that Pat knows who you are. So why would you tell Pat if you had a family? So that's kind of, I think, the whole thing. Once again, it's the coincidence of me meeting you, the daughter of my former partner, in this whole superhero thing. So it's just too much of a coincidence. I don't know. Maybe it is fate. Maybe it is destiny. But nevertheless, while Pat goes to face Brainwave, the fight, and it's who are you? He's me, someone looking for justice. I was I don't know why that line got me. That might be a line straight from the comic books or whatever, but just that line, and especially him saying it with the robot voice, someone looking for justice. I'm I don't know, it seems so cool and badass, because Pat isn't cool or badass, but I like the contrast between that. And him tossing cards at Brainwave, it's yeah, going up against a telepath / telekinetic, not an easy thing. And rocket punch, and it didn't work, and it actually got flung back at you. So it's history repeating itself, But luckily, Courtney shows up in time. Once again, her riding on the cosmic staff, that looks so sick, dude. And her blasting him, and she's like, I'm Stargirl, and that's my sidekick. And he's like, great. I love that he's kind of like, he's probably in his mind, like, great, I'm back to sidekick status. And so, stepping in, kicking his ass is actually pretty dope. Like dodging through this, like I said, like I like that aspect of like that's how you get a lot of her training. It's not just like from the staff; it's like from her own gymnastics training, using that to kind of twirl her way through like those metal bars he sent flying towards her, like using the staff as a way to kind of propel herself and like kicking him like that. It's pretty badass. Sadly, melting the sign, that's going to turn into an issue next episode or something. I'm like, oh, what the hell happened to the sign? Who knows? And so. But, you know, and also, like, because the staff has a mind of its own, it's able to kind of, like, react without her doing anything and just kind of getting her out of the way. But, sadly, he kind of gets the hold of, like, gets advantage over her in the fight. And for him, he's just, like, kind of being the psychopath he is, like, oh, I'm going to enjoy this, like, going real slow about killing you. You know, I was worried when I found out there was going to be another Starman, but all we see is, like, a little Stargirl, and he's planning on killing her. Luckily, her and Pat flashed the lights and distracted him. She got the staff, and the staff touched his head. I was like, what the hell? And I liked what that was like, because, like, all the gravity in that small vicinity started, like, lifting up, even inside of the suit, and it's like, whoa. Like, that, I mean, I guess that makes sense in it being a cosmic staff and everything. Like, it could affect things. I'm sure its power isn't just, like, this cosmic light. It's also just, like, I guess it can affect, like, gravity and stuff like that. I just thought that was so interesting. I was like, and even then I was like, what the hell did it do to him? And it seems, and the way Pat kind of describes it later on, it short-circuited his brain. Obviously, like, it looks like he had, what was it, a seizure or something is what they kind of made it say. I'm curious, though, when he wakes up, if he wakes up, because I also was about to say, that also removes that equation a little bit, because now it's like, okay, you don't have to worry about him, at least for now, villain knowing your identity, because no one else in the Injustice Society knows who she is. So her having a secret identity kind of does save her from like any other like future attacks, because everyone's not going to realize it's her. So it kind of works out in that regard. Because I was curious at the end. I was like, "Are you gonna have to? You would have to kill him. He knows who you are. He will come after you and your family." Like so. But this is kind of working around that. Obviously, Courtney's worried though. She's like, "What if he doesn't wake up?" Because that means in her mind, it's like, I would have killed him. And Pat's kind of like, "Don't think about that. Like you were just defending yourself." And besides, it's like you didn't kill him. It just short circuited his brain, so he's still alive. But the thing is, like, when he wakes up, will that have tampered with his memories, his abilities? And even like his son being there, seeing his dad like that. Part of me is like, could this be the trigger to activate his powers? Like, whereas, Courtney has found her way to the staff and everything. Maybe this is all going to make a trajectory for Henry Jr. to find his way to becoming the new Brainwave. That might be what they do. I'm curious to see if that ends up being the case. That's kind of inkling I get, but we'll have to wait and see. But now it's a situation of like, obviously Courtney's like, she's all in on this, but obviously Pat's like, the fact is you are the new Starman. She's like, Stargirl. And he's like, yeah, but like for me, he's like, I couldn't do anything. I'm back to, he felt like the staff chose you and everything. So he's like, for him, he felt like he had no part to play. And he's like, I can't do this because, it's like, you're the one that defeated Brainwave. She's like, no, we did. And we're going to take down the rest of the Injustice Society. And, it's like, she's like, the staff chose me and I choose you. And I'm like, oh, that was a little, heartwarming and stuff like that. But for them to be a team like this, as we know later on, just because of stuff I've seen, the roster does fill out. But I'm curious to see how that roster does fill out. But it's a situation of her being like, oh, yeah, like instead of S.T.R.I.P.E, how about S.T.R.I.P.E and making it an acronym? And she's like, yeah, that's super cool. So I thought that was, a pretty neat way to kind of set this up. So it's like, all right, who's next? We see that Icicle makes his way to town, and it turns out the dude that Barbara works for is one. So it's like, okay, so it's not just like a few, like quite a few of them. I mean, because to be fair, Blue Valley is supposed to be the epicenter of everything they're doing, so it makes sense for all of them to be there. But it's like, why wasn't Icicle always there? It seemed like he was away for a bit. I also like that they have their own little like whereas the JSA has their, circle table, much like the Justice League and stuff like that. So does I think everyone kind of has one. Even the Legion of Doom has one and stuff like that. Well, typically I don't think they had one in Legends of Tomorrow, not to my recollection. But nevertheless, it's a situation of now they know there's a new Starman around and stuff like that. But it's like Icicle like, well, I already killed one Starman, I can kill another. So obviously, all the villains have, are going to be gathering. It's also interesting to see that they got Solomon Grundy locked up. I mean, to be fair, he's like a mindless hulking zombie, so it's like probably don't need him just running amok all the time. So it makes you wonder, has he been locked up the entire time the past 10 years, or do they bring him out from on occasion? I'm curious about that. Probably not. I think there are instances where Grundy does get like some, because obviously his situation in Gotham was different, but I think like that him gaining some consciousness, I think, does eventually happen. Because I remember there was wasn't the Justice League cartoon where he actually became a good guy and actually for a little bit and saved the day and ended up dying, if I remember correctly. It was like a very heartbreaking story. It was like, oh, Grundy was a good guy for a bit and he ended up dying, if I remember correctly. Like I said, it's been a long time. I want to say it was Justice League Unlimited. It might have been an original Justice League cartoon. I don't remember. Regardless, it just made me think about that. I'm curious, ultimately see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. Now that Courtney's officially taken up the title of Stargirl, and now you're going to be, doing so many things, playing the role of a daughter, and Pat playing the role of just a, regular stepdad, while, both of you living normal lives while also doing your superhero thing while keeping your family in the dark about it. So I'm really curious to kind of see, where all this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.